It's an experience many of us know too well. That sinking moment when someone betrays you, the silence after being abandoned, the ache of being misunderstood, not just once but in the moments when you needed to be seen the most. And almost instinctively, our mind rushes to label, "They're the villain in my story." It gives us clarity, a sense of control. If they are bad, then we must be good. If they were wrong, then our pain must be justified. It's easier that way, clean, black and white. And so we lean into the narrative. They hurt me because they wanted to. They left because they never cared. They misunderstood me because they didn't try. We hold these thoughts tightly because they protect us. They guard us from a more vulnerable truth. That maybe, just maybe, the people who hurt us weren't cruel, but broken. That their actions were not born of evil, but of wounds they never learned to heal. But what if we paused for a moment, really paused, and asked ourselves, what if the person who hurt me wasn't acting out of hatred, but out of fear? What if they didn't mean to break me? They were just trying to survive their own chaos. Suddenly, everything shifts. The image of the bad person begins to blur. And in its place, we see a scared child in an adult's body. Someone who's been running, hiding, protecting themselves the only way they know how. We see people projecting their past into the present. We see trauma responding to trauma. We see defense mechanisms, not malice. This realization doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't excuse the behavior. But it does liberate us, because for the first time, we are no longer trapped in the role of the victim of a monster. We are now witnesses to the complexity of human pain, including our own. Understanding this complexity invites us to soften, not to return, not to reopen old wounds, not even to forgive right away, but simply to stop carrying the burden of hate. It allows us to stop rehearsing the pain on repeat. It opens the possibility that healing might not come from proving them wrong, but from seeing them clearly and choosing peace for ourselves anyway. This shift in perception, from they are evil to they are wounded, doesn't make us weak. In fact, it takes immense strength, because it asks us to see deeper, to feel more, and to unhook our worth from their behavior. It asks us to step outside the simplicity of blame and into the uncomfortable, liberating truth. Not everyone who hurts us is bad. Some are just not whole, and neither were we when we let them in. The truth, not everyone who hurts you is an enemy. In a world that often gravitates towards binary classifications, good and evil, right and wrong, we tend to label others very quickly. Anyone who causes us pain is often immediately cast as the enemy. However, the reality is far more complex. There's a significant difference between hurtful behavior and a person's core essence. Someone can cause suffering, but that doesn't automatically define them as a bad person forever. Many people hurt others not because they intentionally wish to cause harm, but because they are reenacting their own unhealed pain. Childhood traumas, toxic past relationships, deeply ingrained negative beliefs. All of these can manifest as defensive reactions, behaviors that cause harm, even when the perpetrator is unaware of their impact. They are like lost children in an emotional maze, unable to find their way out and inadvertently dragging others in with them. Let's look at some everyday examples you might recognize. The strict, overbearing mother who constantly criticizes her children might not be doing so out of a lack of love, but because she herself was deeply hurt in childhood. Perhaps she grew up in an emotionally deprived environment, was subjected to unrealistic expectations, and unconsciously transmits that fear and pressure to her children. She might believe that strictness is the only way for her children to succeed, because that's what she was taught, or it's the only way she knows to protect them from the pain she once experienced. A partner who suddenly withdraws from a relationship, leaving you feeling abandoned and unworthy. In many cases, this isn't because you weren't enough, but because they lack the capacity for mature love. They might carry deep-seated fears of intimacy, a fear of abandonment if they fully open up, or simply haven't learned how to maintain a healthy relationship. Their withdrawal isn't about you, it's about their own fears. A close friend who suddenly betrays your trust, reveals a secret, or speaks ill of you behind your back. This could stem from a preemptive fear of abandonment, unconscious jealousy, or insecurity about your success. They might have been in relationships where they always felt secondary, or they were betrayed in the past, leading them to believe the only way to protect themselves is to attack first, even if it means hurting a loved one. These examples are not meant to excuse hurtful behavior. They don't mean you should accept or condone it. Rather, they invite empathy, not to forgive the other person's actions, but to stop trapping yourself in the victim role. When we realize that our pain is sometimes a byproduct of another's pain, we can begin to free ourselves from the burden of resentment and blame. Instead of clinging to the narrative of, they are bad and I am a victim, we start to see a larger picture where everyone is simply trying to navigate life with their own burdens. This empathy isn't a weakness, it's an inner strength that allows us to view the situation more objectively and begin our own healing process. Hurt comes not to break you, but to awaken you. Many women, after significant setbacks in love or also life, have exclaimed, "It was because of that fall that I truly discovered who I am." This is a profound truth that few realize while immersed in pain. Hurt isn't always an end. Sometimes it's an ellipsis, a necessary pause for us to reflect, evaluate, and redefine our lives. Some hurts come to awaken us from a long sleep of complacency, dependence, or self-neglect. You discover your limits. Perhaps you've always tried to please everyone, taken on too many responsibilities, or ignored warning signs from your body and mind. Hurt can be a harsh reminder that you're not superhuman, and you have the right to say no. to protect your energy and well-being. You learn to set boundaries. Previously, you might have allowed others to cross your personal boundaries, take advantage of your kindness, or manipulate your emotions. Hurt teaches you that establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries is crucial for protecting yourself and your relationships. You realize that self-love sometimes means saying no or distancing yourself from what doesn't serve your growth. You begin to love yourself instead of begging for love from others. Many of us grow up believing that our self-worth depends on the approval and love of others. When hurt, especially in relationships, we realize that begging for eternal love is an empty pursuit. Instead, hurt pushes us on an inner journey where we learn to find love and acceptance from within ourselves. This is the strongest foundation for a fulfilling life. It's crucial to distinguish between necessary pain and persistent suffering as a choice. Pain is a natural part of life, a signal that something is amiss. But allowing that pain to linger, to become persistent and haunting, is a choice. If we don't learn the lesson from the pain, if we don't view it as an opportunity for growth, we will repeat similar scenarios with different people until we are forced to confront it. The universe will continue to send different teachers until the lesson is fully absorbed. Lessons from hurt, the biggest mirror to know what you need. Every heartbreak isn't just a negative event. It's a golden opportunity to look deeply within. Like a giant mirror, hurt reflects aspects we've overlooked, cracks in our soul we've tried to conceal. Each time we experience pain, it's as if the universe whispers, "You are straying from yourself." When hurt, ask yourself these crucial questions. Have I ignored my personal feelings for fear of being abandoned? Have you often dismissed your inner voice, pushed away uncomfortable feelings to preserve a relationship or avoid isolation? The fear of abandonment can make you accept what you don't deserve, placing others' needs above your own. Have I tried to change myself to please others? Have you ever tried to become a version of yourself that others wanted instead of being authentically you? Trying to change your essence to fit others not only makes you lose yourself, but also creates a relationship based on falsehoods, which will eventually crumble. Do I truly love myself, or am I just a version designed to please society? This question delves into the core of self-worth. Do you treat yourself with kindness, respect, and unconditional love? Or do you only love yourself when you meet societal standards or someone else's expectations? Hurt forces you to turn inward, look deeply within, and begin to take responsibility for your own emotions. Instead of blaming others or circumstances, you realize you have the power to react differently, to learn, and to grow. This process isn't easy. It requires courage to confront the darker parts of yourself, the limiting beliefs that have become deeply ingrained. But as you begin to take responsibility for your emotions, you will gradually break free from the victim role and become the architect of your own life. You learn to process emotions healthily rather than suppressing them or reacting impulsively. From hurt to transformation. Forgive not for them, but for you. One of the most non-crucial steps on the healing journey is forgiveness. However, many misunderstand the meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning hurtful behavior. It doesn't mean agreeing with what happened. And it certainly doesn't mean you have to continue a toxic relationship. Forgiveness also isn't about forgetting what happened. Instead, forgiveness is a process of releasing the burden of the past, freeing yourself from the shackles of resentment, anger, and suffering. When you no longer label others as bad and no longer see yourself as a victim, you gain psychological freedom. You stop allowing past events to control your present and future. The energy you spent holding on to resentment can be transformed into energy for healing, growth, and building a better life. I once experienced a relationship that caused me deep pain. I held on to resentment and a sense of betrayal for years. I constantly replayed this story, adding details and reinforcing my victim role. Until one day, I realized that holding on to that anger wasn't hurting the other person. It was destroying me. It drained my energy, prevented me from trusting others, and made me view the world through a negative lens. My healing process began by identifying and naming my emotions. I allowed myself to be sad, to be angry, but I didn't let those feelings control me. Then I began to practice forgiveness, not for the other person, but for myself. I forgave myself for accepting what I didn't deserve, for trusting blindly, and for allowing the pain to define me. Here are some gentle suggestions for this healing journey. Write down the lessons. Take time to reflect on what happened and write down the lessons you've learned. This is a way to turn pain into wisdom. What have you learned about yourself, about relationships, about how you want to be treated? Write a letter you don't send. Write a letter to the person who hurt you, expressing all your emotions. Anger, sadness, disappointment, but also words of forgiveness and release. The important thing is that this letter doesn't need to be sent. It's a powerful tool for you to release emotions and close a chapter in your mind. Talk to yourself when pain resurfaces. When painful memories flood back, don't fight them. Accept that they are a part of you. Speak to yourself gently, as you would comfort a dear friend. Remind yourself that you've overcome it, you're stronger, and you're on a path to healing. Practice mindfulness, focus on your breath, and allow the emotion to exist, and then gradually dissipate. The process of forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's a continuous journey. There will be days when you feel completely released, and then there will be days when the pain resurfaces. The key is to be patient with yourself and remember that every step, no matter how small, is progress. Conclusion: the power of growth. Maturity is a profound realization that no one is responsible for saving you, not even the person who once hurt you. This life is yours, and you are the only one with the power and responsibility to shape it. We cannot control what others do to us, nor can we prevent harm from occurring, but we can absolutely control how we understand it, how we react to it, and how we grow from it. When you accept this truth, you will discover an extraordinary strength within yourself. You are no longer a dry leaf swept away by the wind, but a steadfast tree that, despite weathering storms, still reaches for the sun. Remember, the path to healing is not linear. There will be days when you feel completely recovered, and then days when the pain returns. That's perfectly normal. The important thing is that you've chosen to face it, learn from it, and turn it into a stepping stone for your growth. Ultimately, the goal is not to never be hurt, but to learn to love yourself enough to heal and emerge stronger after every fall. Are you ready to embark on this transformative journey?
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.